The New York Giants are 6-1. I repeat, the New York Football Giants are 6-1. I hate it when people say it like that, but I feel I really need to emphasize the point here. It's their best start to a season since 2008. And the question everybody wants to ask is, are they for real? But I mean, after beating each of the Titans, Packers, and Ravens with come-from-behind wins, you have to believe in them as the very least a playoff contender, right? Which is far from where they've been over the past half-decade. When looking at the current state of the NFC, they look even better by contrast. If you want a detailed overview of how this team keeps doing it, go check out my podcast co-host Joe from Fanatic Sports' excellent video on the topic, linked below. But I want to answer who is spearheading this resurgence. The instant reaction is to look at the QB, but Daniel Jones, while fulfilling his role well with pretty bad support around him on offense, he has been nothing more than a game manager as of yet this year. Andrew Thomas has been perhaps the league's best tackle, but the O-line as a whole leaves a lot to be desired. It's been Saquon Barkley who's back and better than ever doing everything on offense, but what about the defense that keeps making stops when needed most in these tight wins? All the hype has been around number 5 overall pick Kayvon Thibodeau, but while he's flashed since debuting in Week 3, he is not the one anchoring the defensive unit for the G-Men. No, that would actually be 2019 first-round defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. The Clemson product has been a solid pro in his first 3 seasons, but he's upped his game to a whole new level in 2022. Competing with elite players like Aaron Donald, Cameron Hayward, and Chris Jones, Lawrence's play has been right there among them, placing him as one of the very best at his position this season. Make no mistake, Dexter Lawrence has blossomed into a bona fide star right before our very eyes. While at the NFL Scouting Combine prior to being drafted in 2019, Lawrence sent a message to prospective teams. He told the media, quote, "I call myself a once-in-a-generation caliber player." While he hasn't quite yet met those lofty standards, Lawrence did have a very solid start to his career, grading out as PFF's 14th highest graded interior defensive lineman as a rookie, and 13th a year later. But it wasn't until this year that he finally started to live up to that truly elite billing. Of course, he's still no Aaron Donald, only one man is, but their play thus far this year has been pretty indistinguishable. He has a 90.2 overall PFF grade through 6 weeks, third best in the league at his position, behind just Chris Jones and Aaron Donald, the latter of whom he is just over 1 point behind. He is one of just 9 players of all defensive positions to put up a grade of 90 plus so far this season. I'd say that firmly places him in the Defensive Player of the Year race, which I'm sure not many people foresaw at the start of the year. People across the league are starting to take notice though. His teammate John Feliciano told the New York Post, quote, "He can be a force for the next decade depending on how long he wants to do this. He can give a lot of people a lot of trouble for a very long time." The reigning back-to-back league MVP heaped praise on the 4th-year player too.
They got some studs in the inside. 97 is a premier player and needs to probably get some more recognition for the ability that he has. Talking with our interior 3, they think he's one of the top guys in the league for sure, and he played obviously really well for them.
Now, there's a little irony in saying Lawrence needs to get more recognition while referring to him solely by his jersey number, but I'll let it slide for now because any attention is good right now. That upset win over the Packers in London in the standalone time slot is where Lawrence did finally start to garner the attention of casual national audiences, however. With the Packers leading New York by 7 and driving with the ball late in the 3rd, Lawrence decided to single-handedly shift the momentum of the game. 3rd and 6 at the Giants' 36, Lawrence takes Packers right guard Royce Newman and just bull rushes him right back into the lap of Aaron Rodgers, taking them both down at the same time. That's a rare kind of pure power. The sack forced Green Bay out of field goal range, and the Giants went down and scored touchdowns on their next 2 possessions to win the game. And of course, Lawrence had to bust out his soon-to-be internationally known Sexy Dexy sack dance. That was one of 4 sacks on the year so far for Lawrence, who has now tied a career high in that category. That's only 1 fewer than the league leader at the position this year. In fact, all 4 of Lawrence's sacks have come in the past 4 games, with 2 of them coming versus Chicago in his first ever 2-sack game. His 92.7 overall PFF grade for the game was a career high and also the 4th best for any player at the position this season. Once again, Lawrence dominated with his power, as Bears guard Lucas Patrick found out while getting bull rushed back into his QB on this play, and as said QB Justin Fields also found out while getting folded like a piece of paper. Lawrence may be the strongest player in the NFL. I mean, the dude put up 36 reps on the bench press at the combine. But he's more than just power. Lawrence's other sack that game came of a different variety. When playing a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields, the last thing you want is for him to get out of the pocket and into the open field. So here, Lawrence has the outside contained rush. Fields avoided a sack in the backfield and took off, but Lawrence, who is quick and nimble for his size, chased him down before he even got back to the line of scrimmage. Lawrence's 8 pressures against the Bears also represented a career high for him. Sure, the Bears' offensive line is nothing to write home about, but the quickness with which he was getting in the backfield was impressive, no matter the competition. I mean, look at how easily he just swats away Sam Mustipher's hands here. Later, he beat the guard and the center on a double team to get to Fields and force an inaccurate pass on 3rd and 7. On this next play, he and Azeez Ojulari both beat their blockers with ease and got to Fields to very nearly combine for a sack and forced fumble, but he was merely ruled incomplete. The get-off for a man his size, 6'4", nearly 350 pounds, is quite simply absurd. In the backfield in less than a second on countless occasions and on non-screen plays. Having violent, lightning-quick hands, shoving the blockers before they can do it to him first, has been the easy-to-miss key to Lawrence's success rushing the passer. Lawrence and the Giants' biggest test, however, was in Week 6 against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, the greatest running quarterback in NFL history. Yet again, New York stood tall and pulled off yet another upset win with a few key defensive stops in the second half. Lawrence had another elite 89.5 PFF grade to go along with 5 pressures and another sack. Even against former teammate Kevin Zeitler, who is still a very solid starting guard, Lawrence showed no mercy. He had a tough hand fight with the veteran before winning with a swift swim move and maybe fighting through an uncalled hold, before slamming down his second MVP of the season and once again breaking out his wonderful dance moves. Another strength of Lawrence's is that he can line up all over the line. Against Baltimore, he played a lot straight up versus the center Tyler Linderbaum as the nose. The rookie has a bright future, but Lawrence made his life a living hell that Sunday. He put up just a 24.3 PFF pass blocking grade. Lawrence beat Linderbaum with his traditional straight-up bull rush on numerous occasions. But he also beat him by going around him rather than through him, forcing yet another bad pass by Jackson. Now, after all I've shown, it should be no surprise that Lawrence has some of the top pure pass rushing marks in the league as well. His 90.6 PFF pass rushing grade ranks behind just Chris Jones and Aaron Donald through Week 7. It beats his career high last year by over 16 full points. His 25 pressures are also just 4 behind Quinnen Williams for the league lead among D tackles. So it's not as if he's just getting some fluky sacks and otherwise isn't getting to the QB, or vice versa that he's getting to the QB a lot but just not finishing. No, he's among the league leaders in both categories. PFF also has a stat called pass rush productivity, which measures pressure on a per snap basis with a weighting towards sacks. It's essentially just a deeper dive into a player's pass rushing efficiency. Here, Lawrence's 6.8 mark ranks 5th best at the position, and only one other player has a mark above even 7.7. Side note, 2019 first-round D tackles are the reason both the New Jersey teams have turned it around this year. Obviously, nothing's set in stone, but Lawrence is currently on pace to smash all his previous bests rushing the passer. He's on pace for 60 pressures this year. Previous high, 43 last year. I already mentioned he's tied his best mark in sacks, so he's on pace to double that and more so. Now, if I can nitpick, if there's one area in which Lawrence has struggled so far this season, it's been in the tackling department. He's already missed 5 tackles this season per PFF's charting, which is 2 more than he ever missed in any of his previous 3 seasons. He's missed a tackle on roughly 19% of his attempts, which explains his poorest 33.9 grade in that department. But I mention this to point out how much better Lawrence could be. Tackling is not something he'd ever really struggled with before, and small sample sizes are a thing, so it shouldn't be too big of a fix. And because his marks in other departments are so high that they have sustained his overall grade despite the poor tackling, imagine how high he could climb if he cleaned up his tackling. But yes, I just mentioned Lawrence has been great all around, but so far I've only discussed his otherworldly pass rushing. But what often fails to get noticed is his run defense. His 78.2 grade in that category ranks 7th among interior D linemen, and it too represents a career high so far for Lawrence. Watch this play versus Green Bay, the very first of the game. Lawrence is getting double teamed off the snap by both the center and the right guard, but he pushes off of Newman to get over the top and make the tackle on the outside on Aaron Jones. Again, this kind of hustle shown from a man his size is just about as impressive as everything else about his game. The ability to go sideline to sideline at the position is rare. Lawrence doesn't have a ton of run stops to his name this season, but just by holding his ground as the big man in the middle, he's allowed everybody else to clean up much more easily. And he's excellent at just shedding his blockers at the most opportune moments, as he showed time and time again against Jacksonville. Regardless of if you're a true believer in the New York Giants or not, it's hard not to be convinced of Dexter Lawrence's play. We've all known he's always had this kind of potential. He was a 5-star recruit and first-round draft choice for a reason. And it's not like he was bad in his first 3 years either. He just didn't immediately explode on the scene like some other outliers do. This is the natural progression for a player like this. Now in Wink Martindale's blitz-happy scheme that has personnel moving all around, Lawrence has found his perfect fit and has come into his own as a player. He's already this good, and you gotta remember, the guy won't even turn 25 until mid-November. The Pink Power Ranger is a superstar who should easily make his first Pro Bowl this season. If he continues at this rate, however, just a Pro Bowl appearance would be a disappointment, because this level of play from Dexter Lawrence warrants all-pro consideration and is capable of leading a team to the postseason.